everybody. Victoria Moran here from Main Street Vegan, doing our daily Enchanted April Facebook Lives. Hi to everybody who is starting to join. I appreciate it so much that you are here today. So I'm feeling like my lighting is set up oddly. I am learning so much. Hey Rachel, doing all of this because I just didn't know half as much a week ago about Zoom and Facebook Live and other things as I do now. I've even figured out how to get these daily Facebook Lives onto my YouTube channel, which is Victoria Moran, NYC. So that way there'll be a place for them to live. So I wanted to just harken back to yesterday, and if anybody is watching this for the first time, we are on the 4th Enchanted April installment, and you can join anytime. One thing I do recommend is that you get some kind of journal or notebook and just keep a few notes through Enchanted April. This is a tough time. This is a historically difficult time, as we all know. And yet, there's so much. Hey, Rob. Oh, Rob Mills. If you listen to the Main Street Vegan podcast, Rob Mills is the composer and performer of the wonderful music that we have, Vegan Girls. And you can find the whole thing at Vegan, Girlz. Yeah, Rob, you are one of my favorite composers. So anyway, I was just talking about hearkening back to yesterday. I think that's where I was. Okay, so keep a journal, even just a few little notes, like what's magical today? You know what? There is some in it every day. So yesterday, we were talking about adding a touch of class. What can we do to make our lives just a little bit lovelier, just a little bit more sparkly, even being inside and whatnot? And last night, I listened to the recording of Bill Maher's most recent show, and they actually talked about that too. I mean, obviously, all the talk shows now are coming from the interviewers' homes, and it's really interesting to get to see where people live. And in one of the segments, the guest said to him, "You're probably the only person in Los Angeles to put on a suit in the past 2 weeks." And Bill Maher said, "Yeah, well, Prince Charles actually has coronavirus, and every day he gets dressed up, even with a pocket square." Now, probably Prince Charles has a valet, which would help with some of that. But I thought it was great, and I just want to thank you guys for giving me a reason to get up and get dressed and be kind of camera ready, more or less, iPhone ready, every day to talk with you. So the quotation for today might be a little bit tricky because it has a couple of words that are a little loaded. This comes from my book, Younger by the Day, and it says, "Courage travels with faith. When you're counting on a higher power or a higher purpose, you've got yourself a light to help you through the dark places." And I know just that word faith, which to me is so important because I was raised with a beautiful, eclectic, loving kind of faith. So I didn't have to go through any of that kind of recovering religiosity stuff that some people have. I'm grateful for that. And so for me, the idea of faith is about big picture. And what you believe in is totally yours to do with as you wish. And yet the idea that even in our lives, even when they're seeming a little bit reduced, as I think a lot of them probably do now, I mean, when I think about what is my purpose for today, and I'll look at my to-do list. Now, a year ago, my to-do list had some really cool stuff on there, like fly to London for the UK premiere of A Prayer for Compassion and meet for lunch, all these amazing people that I absolutely adore, and go here and speak and host a Main Street Vegan Academy, and all these wonderful things that make my life really sparkly. So I look at my to-do list for today, and most of the entries start with the word wash. Wash clothes, wash floors, wash dogs. So does that mean my purpose has been reduced to washing stuff? No, I don't think so, because there is a higher purpose. And all that keeping everything clean is so that I don't contract a potentially fatal disease today, and that I don't expose my husband who's recovering from an accident to a potentially fatal disease today. And so even in these things that seem so ordinary, there's a higher purpose. And then beyond that, there's more. What are we going to do after this? And I know we don't know what anything's going to be like economically or in any of those really scary ways. And yet, as long as we're here, we've got to be uplifting the world. I used to have this spiritual teacher, and if you follow my work, you've heard me quote this before because it's one of those things that sticks with me. And he would say, you want to be part of the upward progression of the universe. And I see that as really kind of my lodestar, to be part of the upward progression of the universe. So what am I going to do today to lift things up? So one of the things I'm doing is talking with you guys, and I would just love to put that question out there so that you can post it in the comments section. What are you doing today to be part of the upward progression of the universe? It's a pretty cool order. It's a tall order, but it's a wonderful and inspiring thing. So while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you a story. Now, I do have a kind of woo-woo side, and if you know me well, you already know that, and you just deal with it. And I was raised by a very eclectically spiritual grandmother-age woman who came to live with us when I was 6 months old because my parents worked and it was before daycare. And so I've always believed in a lot of things that a lot of people in the Western world don't. So, for example, reincarnation has always been a working hypothesis for me. I don't know if it's true, but it kind of makes sense to me. So about 15 years ago, when I was in England, I went for a past life regression. Now, I was very skeptical. Not that I didn't believe that reincarnation could be possible, because I do believe that, but that I could be hypnotized. It's like, yeah, this is kind of a waste of, 22 pounds or whatever I paid for it. But after this hypnotherapist got me really, really quiet, and I'm sitting there waiting for something to happen, this voice comes out of me. And all I can say is that it sounded like those old recordings of the suffragists, that really old-fashioned kind of English accent and very precise. And she said, or I said, I don't know. I was sitting there and it was she said, because I didn't think I was coming up with any of this. But the words that came out were that she was the spinster daughter of a barrister, and that her mother had died when she was young, and she did have this one very scandalous practice that she loved to go around London on public transportation. And she went into some detail describing how the buses went from being horse-drawn into a time when it was a kind of trolley system, something kind of electrical, and then went on to gasoline shortly before she died at age 47 of the flu in 1919. Now, when I was saying all this stuff in this woman's office back 15 years ago, I'm thinking, 1919? Everybody knows that flu epidemic was 1918. Well, of course, now we all know that it went on through 1919, and it was actually still around for some of 1920. So I have no idea what that all means. And yet, when I read that there were a couple of people in Italy, centenarians, who got the coronavirus, recovered from the coronavirus, and were found to have antibodies to the 1918 flu in their blood, I just thought, isn't it all fascinating? All the kinds of circles and spirals and hoops and connections. Could it be that this person that maybe lived and died in London at that time was around when these two people in Italy were babies? Who knows? It's all so magical. Kundera. Hey, Kundera. I pray daily with my group of Christian lady friends. We share prayer requests and inspiration on WhatsApp all week. I love spiritual technology. It's an amazing thing that because of the internet, we can even grow our souls. Thanks, Kundera. And Rob, our composer, today I recapitulated some parts of my life and I'm doing this on a daily basis now. Wow, that's so cool. So thanks everybody who's posting. So I don't want to keep you guys a long time today. I do have a couple of announcements. I think I announced yesterday that A Prayer for Compassion, the beautiful film from Thomas Jackson that introduces ideas of vegan living to people who identify as religious or spiritual, or anybody that's interested in the upward progression of the universe, is now on Amazon Prime. So you just, you can do a search for A Prayer for Compassion film. You've got to put film there or it won't take you to the right place. And you can watch A Prayer for Compassion. And tomorrow, 12:30. So if you're planning to be with me for the Facebook Live, then you might just want to move on over to the Zoom webinar that I'll be doing with the filmmaker, Thomas Wade Jackson. So here's the deal, as I see it, about A Prayer for Compassion and all that sort of thing for right now. It is believed that this epidemic started in a live market, and most of the viruses, most of the flus, most of the epidemics in recorded history have come from human use of animals. So here's one more huge reason why we need to be moving away from that. That also is part of that upward progression, isn't it? The upward progression of the universe, the upward progression of how we do things. So I am going to be doing a Zoom webinar with Thomas. He'll be talking about these very ideas, about his 2 weeks in India with Dr. Silas Rao, one of our producers, and Jerome Flynn, who played Bronn on Game of Thrones. It's so amazing how these connections happen. He'll also be talking about the Compassion Challenge, which is an invitation to everybody who watches A Prayer for Compassion to get involved with a month-long challenge of just upping things. That seems to be our theme for today, doesn't it? Just a little bit of up, a little bit of uplift. So all that Zoom information is on a Facebook event that I've made for the Prayer for Compassion webinar happening tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you can't find it, just write to me, Victoria@mainstreetvegan.net. I'll help you out with that. And next week, probably Tuesday, we're still solidifying that date. Karen Ramsey, Lane Lynn, Elaine Martin, and myself are going to be doing a homeschooling webinar for parents who are saying, what do I do with these kids? I'm not a teacher. Well, both Lane and Karen are very experienced, licensed teachers, and they homeschool, and I homeschooled, and our kids are all doing great. So we're just going to be there to help out parents. So if you know any parents who could use a little bit of help while their kids are home, let them know that's going to be happening, and I'll give you the exact date and all the info as soon as I have it. Oh, Donna Campo, bless you. Your beautiful books have gotten me through many dark times. That is so kind, so kind. Bless you, bless you. And yes, Kundera, a compassionate challenge. Yeah, we're in quite a time, and what an obvious statement that is. Oh my goodness, John Rulak, you make all those beautiful, wonderful foods. Haven't seen you in a long time. David Hinchman, my God, I went to high school with David Hinchman. Isn't Facebook fascinating? Okay, everybody, thanks so much for being part of this. Keep up your Enchanted April journal. Have an Enchanted April. Stay safe. Be blessed. I love you all. Bye. Till tomorrow.